and welcome to another edition of the One Team We Agree On. I'm Jillian.
And I'm Kyle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. Long day. I'm a teacher during the run up to Christmas here, so
Yeah, and it is evaluation season and observation season for me. So, long days for both of us, but hey, we're back. We're glad everybody's here, and we got a special guest today. Somebody you and I both have now this year done road trips with,
yes.
spent time in the press box with, and you know, somebody we've gotten to know over the last 3 years, and
Mhm.
that's our good friend Skyler Hoffner. Skyler, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be back on and let's talk some union soccer.
Two-time, man. Two-time. And for those of you that don't know, Skyler is the social media admin and journalist for Union Nation. So, again, another great friend in the media we're having on here today. So, before we get started, Jillian, what are you wearing?
All right. Well, especially because I know Skylar is a Steelers fan and it is Eagles Steelers week. I had to go with Brian Dawkins Eagles jersey in the midnight green.
I'm gonna break away from tradition. I want to know what Skyler's wearing.
I just had to break out my TJ Watt jersey for
Woo-wee!
this weekend's game.
Which you're going to, correct?
Yeah, I'll be there. If anybody is a Steelers fan in this universe, come see me. I'll be in section 132.
Yeah, shout out to Todd Lewis. Todd, you need to be. Don't you agree, Skylar? Todd needs
Yes,
to drive up.
I was gonna text Todd. I'm like, Todd, come on, come out.
Yeah.
Come on. We need all the
Eh,
Steelers fans as possible.
Exactly, exactly. I was looking at the tickets, man. Whew, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna be expensive. Now we're at swim meet, so we couldn't make it. But anyway, I am wearing a classic one of my favorite. It is the Skull soccer ball kit that I got on eBay for like $10, and it's just a nice little Adidas t-shirt. I can't
hmm
knock it, so thought
Yeah.
I'd wear that. So, where can people find us?
So we are on Twitter at TOTWAG. We're also on Blue Sky now at TOTWAG and whatever the rest goes with it. And also on Facebook and Instagram at the One Team We Agree On, as well as on YouTube. We have our YouTube channel. I have my TikTok, Jillian underscore Almany, and I haven't really posted anything lately on there, but I have some content, especially YouTube content on there. And check out our website, theoneteamweagree.com. Admittedly, been a little busy between things, and also, I mean, there hasn't been as much going on, but we'll definitely have some articles on there soon.
Yes, there is stuff ready to be published. We just gotta get time to finish it up.
Yeah, just as a reminder, we're not paid for any of this. This is not like our job. We do this because we love it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll get to it. And I have one more full week of school to go and I'll be on break. So probably get some things done over that. And maybe we'll have news to share at that point
I'm
too. Who
sure we're
knows?
gonna have some news. There's a lot going on right now as the league's starting to kind of ramp back up. But also, quick programming note: our annual episode of What If, now this is the third season, is coming out next week sometime. So we will be dropping that information on social media. So please DM us. Might be doing a Google Doc where
hmm
people can just submit their questions. So this is always our fun annual episode, so stay tuned for that as well. But with that said, let's get into the interview with Skylar.
All right, let's do it.
All right, you want to take
All
it?
right. So, Skylar, before we dive into our topics, can you give listeners a recap of how you got into covering the union and just some background about yourself for anyone who doesn't know you?
I've been a fan of soccer since I was 3 years old. I played for 17 years. I was a fan of the Union since their inception. I went to, I think, the third ever home game at PPL Park. I was a season ticket holder in Section 130 from 2015 to 2019. And then in 2018, I applied for Philadelphia Sports Nation to be a social media admin. And that's how I got my start in writing for the union and being a social media admin. And then in 2019, it was my first year in the press box. And I've been in the press box ever since then. This was my sixth year in the press box. And yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of soccer ever since I can remember.
And now you're back in school, you kind of long term you want to get into this full time, correct?
Yeah, I got another year left, and hopefully, I find some kind of social media slash journalist job out there, whether it's in the sports world or anywhere else. Honestly, I could write about anything. As a
Uh,
journalist, you should be able to, but I would love to find
yes,
a job anywhere.
for sure.
Yeah, and I enjoy being in the press box with you because like if there's ever a call like that, your refereeing background, everything comes in play. I'm like, I know you will explain it for me because you are definitely way more knowledgeable in some of that stuff than me.
Some of my favorite moments this year where there was a call in the field, Skylar, I just gotta say this, and from this past year, there was like 2 or 3 games, and I forget what it was, where you're just sitting there animately in the press box saying, that is not a foul. That's not even a card. How's that a card? And it's like, it's just amazing. And so, like, for you as a referee, like, to see those moments and then to see those mistakes, because you've probably been on that side of the coin too, where no one's perfect, but that's just got to be like, come on.
Yeah, especially when I'm reffing from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. and then rushing home, getting ready to game, then going right to the stadium. I'm like, come on, I seen this literally 2 hours ago. Like, why can't you make this and you're getting paid thousands of dollars and I'm getting paid hundreds? But yeah,
Right.
it's just interesting to see
It
MLS right.
is. It really, really is. And it is true because there's been times, like, even when we're watching away games, I'll text you and people don't know. Like, I'll text them and go, like, was that foul? And it's just interesting to hear your take because I'm like
Hmm.
looking at it immediately going, is that's a foul easy? And you're like, ah,
Yeah.
that's 50
Every,
50.
everybody has their own opinion. It's the little ticky tacky stuff. It's
Yeah,
just from youth to professional. It's all different. But yeah, it's interesting to get everybody's different take, even if they refereed for 17 years like I have, or have just watched soccer as a casual.
it is. It really, really is.
Hmm.
Um, so we haven't really talked about since we walked out of Subaru Park after the Union bowed out, but I just want to get your takes on, the 2024 season, just everything. We'll get into some other postseason topics, but just your overall thought on the season in general.
Yeah. When you lose your best player, it deters you. When you lose Andre Blake for pretty much more than half the season, most likely,
Hmm.
you're not going to play up to your potential. And when your defender of the year 2 years ago plays like he's never played soccer ever in his life, it deters your team. When you're not giving some younger guys some playing time, it deters your team. When you're just playing the same guys over and over and over again, have played so many minutes over so many amount of years, like we've seen. And Jim's lack of subs that we've always seen in the last couple years have deterred this team over the last couple of years. And when you run it back, run it back, run it back, teams are going to see you. Like we've said all year, the tape
Yeah,
on the team has just been shown and shown and shown. You're not going to get better. Teams are getting better, and you're not. That's just the simple fact for this past 2024 season. Just the league's getting better, and we're not.
Yeah, well put. I mean, honestly, they were super predictable and I think we all kind of saw it coming to be honest, but
yeah. I
yeah,
think some of us, including myself, were like optimistic, especially at the beginning, like we were talking about before we recorded. I mean, there was a time before RSL that
the
we were all
undefeated
thinking,
streak.
okay, maybe this might work. Maybe
Yeah.
we're not saying they're going to win MLS Cup, but they were getting the ball bounced the right way, and then all of a sudden that happened, and everything went downhill. And it wasn't like up and down, disappointing. It just, again, as we've said several times, they found new ways to lose games.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Like, I mean, again, the Chicago game, we keep bringing that up. I mean,
Hmm.
we start and end the season with an own goal.
Yep.
I mean, just it was textbook like, what is this? Because 2 years
Yeah.
ago, this was the same team. You know what I'm talking about, Scott? Like, it was the
Yeah,
same team, and now we're seeing these mistakes constantly. It's just like something's off.
yeah.
And you're right.
They put the fires out at the back when they needed to 2 3 years ago. We've seen
Yeah.
that over and over and over again when Blake was there. when Busness was playing at an all-time high, when Elliott was playing at an all-time high, Wagner's always played all-time high.
Yeah.
When Mbaizo was playing well, it's like when they've been all on the same page. This past year, they just didn't click, and we've seen that over and over and over again.
Yeah, and of course, not having Andre, of course, was definitely a big factor. I think he really directs them well back there and all that. But just, yeah, it was a big downturn in general. And well, moving forward, we'll definitely have some shaking up there, I think so, from what
Yeah.
things look like. So, and of course, with the shaking up, I mean, Jim, I mean, biggest story so far here. So, with Jim gone now, what do you feel like Jim's legacy will be with this club?
Jim's legacy will always be he could get us to the big games, but could never get us over that hump. And to be honest, he might take that burden to his grave. This is his hometown team. He wanted to give this city a championship, all of his heart. And I can guarantee you he's going to take that to his grave. And we should all appreciate Jim for what he did for this club for, what was it, 8 years he was here or longer than that, right? I forget how many years he was
It
with
was
us. But
2014, he was
oh,
insistent.
10, that's
Been there like 10, he was there like
Yeah.
10 years
but
basically.
yeah, but where he brought this club from where they were, like 2019 to 2023 was the best 5 years we could have ever had.
Oh, for
And
sure.
that's all we can appreciate. Yes, we would have loved to get more than just a supporter shield, but just the new heights he's brought this club, just how much happy times he brought this, I feel like it was a success here, even though he didn't bring us a full championship.
No, I agree with you, and I still think, and I'm going to ask you this, I still think eventually he's going to go in the Ring of Honor. I mean, you got to put him in there, right?
Yeah, I agree 110%. However long down the line, he should be in there 100% for what he did.
And I know he'll always have his detractors, but I will say this: what he was good at was he was good with the fans. He was good with the media.
Very.
He would call out the media when needed.
Yeah,
We've
yeah,
all
and
been
we all
there.
know
Oh,
that. Yeah.
We've
I'll
all
never
been
forget.
there.
How about that time when he called out Todd for like about Quinn
That
being not being a striker and
no,
all that. But that was funny. But
but like
yeah.
there's been times where he's given some emotional
Yeah.
responses. I mean, the guy wore the city on his back,
He really did.
and I'll ask you this as a follow-up, but my concern is the next coach, whoever they bring in, do they understand the city of Philadelphia? Now you can say, well, I coached in big time, high pressure situations. It's a little different, maybe not so much, depending on who they hire, but what do you feel the next coach needs to embody to be the perfect fit for this club?
I just feel like like you were saying, they got to embody the passion and grit of this city. The fans will let you know when they're pissed off, and they will
Hmm.
let you know when they love you and love what you're doing. They don't have a filter, and the coach needs to know that. If
Hmm.
he's going to let the fans get into his head, then he's just not the coach for this team. And that's what goes with every single coach in this city. Like
Hmm.
Oh,
we've seen it
absolutely.
plenty of times over the years. But yeah, I just feel like the coach has to be like a Jim Curtin. He can't, we'll never have another Jim Curtin.
No,
But
for
if you
sure.
have a lot of those same aspects, you'll do well in this city.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be hard to, for whoever comes in, like to be on the level Jim was with the fans. Him being a local. I mean, that was huge. I think, speaking personally from, being a newer member of the media, I appreciate that Jim actually, took the time to talk to me on some occasions, when I was at training and, just like, um, also though, like the way he'd interact with the fans. Okay. Just, he was wonderful with that. And, you really could tell, just the city means so much to him. And, and of course he'd be sporting Kelly Green, Air Force Ones and
Hmm.
stuff, um, and, cheering on the Eagles and doing all that different stuff. And, I, Philly really respects, a coach that is passionate like that. And,
Hmm.
and to an extent, you see that with like Nick Sirianni. I know a lot of people really wanted him gone at one point after they were 2-2, but that kind of changed a bit. But like, you can appreciate kind of the coaching style there too. So Philly respects that. I think whoever comes in next, well, they're gonna have big shoes to fill in that regard, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of replacement we have.
Yeah, my biggest concern is, and I think a lot of us has covered this team over the last 2 years, especially this year, and we said this the last podcast, is Ernst going to hire a yes man? A guy that's not going to challenge him. And as I said, being at in that room with people that have brought different ideas, sometimes you disagree, but iron sharpens iron. And that's how you get successful. And
Mhm.
I don't know how you feel, Skylar, but it's that's my biggest concern that Ernst's gonna hire his guy, which okay, that's fine. You hire your guy that understands
Mhm.
your wants and needs, but you gotta have somebody say, hey, you know what, Ernst, this is not working right now. We need to go something else. And I don't know if that's really he's kind of it's him or now, you know?
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's probably that most likely is the reason why we're not seeing Jim as this head coach anymore because he
Right.
wanted some kind of change,
Hmm.
and Ernst just doesn't want that. He wants the guys that want to play all them young guys, and which I would love to see all them young guys play, but there's a time and a place for
Nice.
Yeah.
No,
Sorry, I get interrupted.
she was sharing me a goal.
Scott
That's why I
Laughton with a
said
hat
nice.
trick.
I was like, oh,
I was
okay,
like,
nice.
oh, right.
that. I
Oh,
don't
Yes.
got no I don't got no Flyer stuff here, but I'm a Flyers fan.
all
Nice.
right.
Scott Laughton hat trick. It was empty netter to seal that. So anyway, yeah, like just I I feel like it is gonna be like a yes man for Ernst or something. And I don't know, like I'm just I enjoyed
You're worried that Jim's gonna be the next Pat Noonan, aren't you?
no, you know what I see? Like I I really I just can't talk. It's been a long day. I really enjoyed interacting with Jim and the press conferences and
Yeah.
everything. And man, I'm gonna miss hearing about how razor thin the margins were and all of that. And I actually made a shirt with that even. But no, like just, I appreciate him. But yeah, I'm on one hand where he's gonna no, I'd be very happy for Jim, but man, the rumors with him going to NYCFC and all that, like, God, that'll kill me. Going there if he does.
I mean,
I mean, good for him if he does, and if he's going someplace that's actually going to give him, you know, some money to spend, and actually bring in players and have that backing. But at the same time, it's like, oh, that's like a dagger to the heart if he goes someplace that's kind of like the enemy. God, because like I want to support Jim and be happy for him, but man, it's like, I liked Andy Reid with the Eagles, but at the same time, when it was different with Andy, that was kind of like, okay. I think it is time to move on with him. And of course, he went to Kansas City and we know what he did there, but um just he got better. He got better at clock management. And so I don't know. It's just, I hope Jim goes to have more success and everything. And I wish the best for him for sure.
we'll see where he ends up.
But
I mean,
just
nothing's out
the
there.
rivals that we have to face like two times a season,
We'll see
come
where
on.
he ends up. There's been speculation now of what Atlanta. We heard some other things. So, where do you think his best spot is, Skylar?
The two places that I ultimately came up with was probably Toronto or NYCFC. Honestly, I could see him thrive in Toronto.
They got
The
the money.
amount that they want to spend,
Hmm.
Yep.
we've never seen Jim with any top quality player that an actual GM wants to bring in. So just
Hmm.
seeing him with anybody, not maybe somebody on their roster right now, but bringing in somebody else, some guy from Europe, I would love to see him like that. Now, NYCFC, I think, is his best spot, honestly. I could see him thrive with that city just like he did here, but
Hmm.
Yeah.
I would hate to see him in blue and
I
all.
know. Oh,
Yeah,
It's as a fan and a media, it's a great fit to be honest, but
yeah.
it
as a
is.
Philly, you don't
Right.
do that.
It's like,
I mean,
Honestly,
yeah,
I feel like NYCFC.
yeah.
and honestly, from his family standpoint, it makes sense too. His family can stay right in Philly. It's like it.
Not too long
Yeah,
drive.
it's gonna be interesting to see where he ends up. What your thought on the roster day decisions? Was there any shock there? And you know, the options decline on, of course, Jack Elliott. I don't know if you saw today the rumors Tom kind of brought out that Tom Bogert was saying he was looking at Chicago. He's thinking Chicago's a real deal. And I think there's some other things coming out that he might be on off the road. We'll see what happens with Ale. And then, Brendan Craig, which I thought was interesting. We're still kicking that thing around, but I mean, hey, we'll see with the new coach. Maybe he gets a chance. But what are your thoughts? Any surprises there?
Uh, the Elliott, of course, is the second biggest surprise to me. Um, Jack Elliott, what can you say about him? He's been a mainstay.
Yeah.
He's
Hmm.
always been in the lineup. Like
Hmm.
I can only count a handful of times he's been out of the lineup due to an
Right.
injury or anything like that.
Hmm.
Like Jack Elliott, I mean Jacob Glessnes has been decently hurt. He had the groin injury a couple
Hmm.
years, but Jack has always been there, and he's been the rock solid back we've needed for a while. Like I'll always remember him coming into that game in DC for his rookie debut. But just if we lose him just because we don't want to spend that extra 1 to 200K in a contract for him, that's going to hurt this back line. Even with no matter who we bring in, just having a guy like that that knows this system, it's going to hurt. But losing Flock to me is the biggest loss of this. People might have
100%.
people might not have liked him for his lack of creativity or attacking ability, but my word, this guy would do anything to go win that ball back for this club.
Yeah.
It, it he means more to this team more than Jose Martinez did, and to me. But just losing Flock, you understand that he could go get more money abroad. He might want to go back to Germany, but to me, Flock is going to be that biggest miss this up. Um, Ale, I'm fine with bringing him back if he wants to stay in the same role he had. Uh, like he said at the end of the last game in the press room, when he was on the field, the Union won. When he wasn't, they lost. So the front office should think about that. I would hate to see him go to like a top quality team. I could see him going to Miami or something like that.
Mm.
Do you think he follows Jim?
It's a good idea. But depends. I could see him probably going to NYCFC too. It's he has ties in New York,
Yep.
Miami,
Yeah, he's got the whole
but
whole paddle house thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
honestly, I'd like to see Ale back. Yeah, but
Yeah.
of course he's going to want as much money as he can get, and that's where he's probably going to go ultimately. And BC, I'm fine with bringing him back if he's a fourth center back, if he's your last option, even behind Matanya, to be honest.
I
And
mean, at this point, I gotta be honest with you on McConaughey. I mean, I'd rather see Neil Pierre.
Same. Like
that,
we've seen them both play like a
I'd
ton.
rather see Neil
I'd rather
Pierre.
see Neil.
And that's
that's Neil
saying
as the
something.
three.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, and you know me, I was like the biggest McConaughey guy.
Like I was all for giving him a
But
chance for
after
sure.
watching him in that MLS Next Pro Cup
Mhm.
against grown guys that played significant minutes for FC Dallas, I was like, okay, this is legit. Like, the guy got exposed, and
Yeah.
it's
Like
it.
I mean Jim, yeah, I think there's a
He
reason
has
why
his
Jim didn't
moments,
get
but he's
for
just
sure.
so raw.
Yeah. I mean, could you say like maybe he needs to sink or swim, maybe get a shot, maybe, but
I'd be
I
fine with that, but
I'd kind of rather like between the two, I'd rather see Neil get a shot
yeah,
just from
I'm
what I've
still,
seen.
yeah,
And Neil's also 17 and very like much
needs to,
needs to keep learning for sure. But I think the ceiling's very high for Neil. I think he, really could do well. But um
yeah. I kind of agree with you, Scholar. I
yeah.
think the biggest loss is Leon Flock, and that
Yes.
is because of the defense, the tracking,
Mhm.
everything that he brought. Sure, but even still, like you looked a lot this season, yes, he's never going to be that offensive threat that you want from that position, but he improved at times. Now there were games where he'd get exposed, and we even saw where they wouldn't even try to pass him the ball because he was getting outmatched, but he was still contributing defensively. So I don't know what their plan is because you can't rely on CJ only. You
I
can't
mean,
tell me
CJ's good, but
But
He's
CJ needs
he's
to
also
slowly,
17.
he also needs to be slowly brought in. You
Yeah.
can't rely on him.
Like I think CJ had an incredible season at U too, and he's
I would
he's
like to
doing well,
see
but
CJ kind of be like slow cook like Jack McGlynn was like his
yeah.
first year, bring in for like five, ten
Yeah.
minutes, get
Yeah.
cuts, and then just slowly adapt him. I think that's what you do with those guys like David
Yeah, I'd
Vasquez.
love to see David Vasquez in
Like,
that role as well. And I'd honestly love to see Frankie Westfield get a shot at some point too.
yes,
So,
yes, yeah. I mean, so we'll see.
yeah. So,
Go ahead.
um, now Ernst brought up if they use the U22 initiative again, it would be for a midfielder. Now, do you trust that the club will use all four of their given slots to fill those needs? And if not, where else does the club look to improve?
I wish we would use all four, but as we know, the club can say what they want, but they'll do another, as we've
Yeah.
seen throughout the years. The biggest spot this year is midfield.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We lost Martinez. I mean, we're filling him with Danley, but we've only seen a handful of him. And honestly, I like him as a flanker more than a six, to be
Right.
honest. And so you have to go get another flanker. You got to go get another six. Got to get us pretty much almost everywhere. I mean, I think you're fine at Cam with Kevin if you want to keep him there, but you have to go get at least two midfielders, not three.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that happens. I'll be happy with one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, do you think it's because they still are wanting to see? Here's the wild card. Jesus Bueno. We keep bringing him
Yeah.
up, and he's sitting there just like, "Hi." Um, what do you do with him? Because every time he starts, he contributes, and then he disappears. I don't get that because when I see him in training, he's fine. I mean, I don't know what.
Yeah, I even asked somebody in the know and I'm like, what's going on with Jesus Bueno? And they're like, I don't know, but he's not happy he's not getting playing time. That's yeah.
Honestly, right now on this roster, he's my six,
Hmm.
to
Yes,
be honest.
and that's
It's
not the. I mean, we can upgrade. I mean, but he's a tool as like you said, like a flanker and as a sick. Like he's such a weapon there that well,
Yeah.
you need to at least bring him off the bench. If you're gonna
Yeah.
slow cook him, like I mean,
I don't know. I'm pretty high on Jesus Bueno. I want to see him get more of a shot. Like,
yeah, he deserves
I
it.
wouldn't
yeah.
mind him starting in that sixth spot. He's
Yeah.
shown you that he can produce. We
I mean,
haven't
it
seen
might be
him
a
in a
little
long
bumpy
trip. Yeah,
at
oh yeah.
times, but
Yeah.
Everybody is. That's
yeah.
what happens. It's soccer. It's a 34 game plus season. Like we all see that, but haven't we've never seen Bueno in a starting role for it'd be interesting to see how he does.
And when we have seen him, like let's look at Leagues Cup last year. When we have seen him get
So
some
yeah.
runs, he's contributed.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah.
this is a breakout. Maybe that's the plan. I mean, I'm not going to speculate, but
Anybody
um,
can impress under a new head coach.
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
see.
That's true. I mean, when you look at I mean, Jim had his feelings on certain players and everything, and we'll see what the new head coach thinks about some of these and maybe Choo Choo gets a shot. I mean, definitely, you know, yeah, like I'm very biased, but I'm a big fan of him. I mean, this was an immediate purchase, this Bueno fan art here. So, yeah, for sure. So, and I know, much bigger fan out there.
Oh yeah,
Shout out Kyle the baby. So I'm sure
but
he'd love to see him get in that role too.
no, I agree with you. I think midfield's a definite need, and I'd like to see them get a at least somebody that's not named Chris Donovan. That's no knock on Chris Donovan,
Yeah.
but I mean, again, I don't know how you feel about him. I still say he's a USL player that he could thrive in USL.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Like Matt
he,
Real is thriving.
yeah,
Yes.
like I think he's that kind of player. Like, I'm not gonna say a goal number, but he's definitely a 10 goal scorer in USL.
He's
He's
too good for you too, but he's,
Yeah.
yeah.
good performance.
Yeah, I mean, do you think they need what do you think they need to do there at the third striker position?
Um, to be honest, you need to go get it. But
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to see how Marcus Anderson has developed over this offseason and
Hmm.
going in the training camp. it's definitely going to be interesting to see how he develops. But he played well down the stretch for you too. So
Mm-hmm.
he's your wild card,
Oh
and
yeah.
Uh-huh.
he
Yeah.
Remember how we were all sitting in the press box so high on him during leagues, I mean CCC, and we were just like, this guy's good. Like him and
Yeah.
who up front there, they
I was
were.
so high on him, like with like the Portland game and like that part of the season too. Yeah, just like he was.
The problem with if he can stay healthy,
Yeah,
I mean, he's got a
yeah,
shot. I'd like to see him as like that fourth striker role.
yeah, yeah. He had some real bad luck with the injuries, and he just kept getting hurt and getting concussions, getting different things, and towards the end of the U2 season, man, he was really coming on. He had really good games at the end and in the playoffs, and even in the MLS Next Pro Cup. Just really, there's a lot of promise there. I mean, big blemish was, of course, the Cincinnati game. Um, but, I think there's a lot of room to grow there, and I think he's got a lot of potential for sure.
For sure. Um, let's talk about the breaking news. We all saw it. Union gave up 3 years worth of draft picks. This feels like an NFL trade or like some hockey trade, like 3 years worth of
Hmm.
draft picks for somebody. They just gave it 3 years worth of draft picks. Now they can make up to 600,000. They get 125 this year, 125 next year, and then 100,000 in 2027, I believe, and then you got like another whatever on add-on on incentives. Having said that, this is the most union thing I think I've seen that, and I'm just
Hmm.
like, okay. And Todd and I were talking yesterday. You bring in like these college scouts and like Zinnerbart and all these guys that had success drafting from the college super draft. I mean, Skyler, is where do you stand on this? Because I mean, I'll say this right now. Do you really trust Ernst with the college draft? How it's kind of turned out the last couple years? Because I said this to him. I was like, Todd, I like this deal. At least they got something out of it because the last couple of years of the draft, they haven't gotten anything really worth mentioning.
I don't. I'll give you. I have two sides on it. If you're going to make the pick that in a position that you are actually gonna need in the future. Like we drafted a goalie. I don't know who we drafted this past year that didn't even make the roster.
Yeah.
But next 3 years, get some money. Maybe you'll go into getting a international roster spot or something down the line.
Hmm.
But Ernst is pretty much just banking on these young guys in the academy,
Correct.
which I'm fine with. But we've seen the Columbuses, we've seen a couple other teams get all these other college kids that just come out of nowhere
Right.
and start
Yeah.
it and produce for championship clubs.
Right.
It's kind of infuriating that they're not even giving some guys a chance in a position that you might need some kind of depth in the future. I mean, if you're going to pick somebody and just let them just sit and waste money on your roster, then I understand it. But you need some of these older guys instead of these 17, 18-year-old raw kids that are just playing
Yeah.
against young kids. Like you can't be 17, 18 and play against 19, 20-year-olds and think like you're going to come up MLS and be.
Yeah.
But
No, exactly.
it's frustrating to me, but that's just how Ernst is, and that's just the way it's going to be.
And
Right.
that's
Because if you drink every time that Ernst mentioned, development, development, development during that, you'd be a little inebriated. But like, yeah, it's kind of, it's not because like figure Andre Blake was a draft pick.
yeah.
Jack Elliott was a draft pick, and yeah, it was like 10 years ago, but still, yeah, like,
My whole thing is, and Todd brought this up when we were chatting, was how would you feel to be Zinnerbart right now? You're brought in to help scout the college team, and then Ernst said, "Hey, great job, congratulations. We're trading next 3 years." It's like, well, you brought me in here, like
yeah.
I, I, I'm not saying that happened. But it's just those kind of conversations where, and I kind of agree with this guy. As much as I love the move, because again, I don't know if I really trust Ernst so much from the college game. There is a valid point there that there
Hmm.
are a lot. We've seen the Duncan McGuires. You look at
Yeah.
Columbus. there's a lot of successful players that have gone on to have successful careers, even
Okay.
abroad, that were brought
Yeah.
in through the super draft. Now, maybe it's a small percentage, and I've seen some people on social media writing like long essay articles on the percentage, and I get that and all, but
Right.
if you're picking number 8 like the Union are this year, you have a pretty good chance of getting somebody that at
Yeah.
least could come off the bench and develop.
Right.
He's going to give somebody to actually look underneath of them, like
Right.
give them some competition. Like it's we've
It's
seen it how many years in a row that Ernst has done it, and we magically drafted last year, which was
yeah, yeah, it was. And none of those draft picks ended up even seeing the field for us. So we'll see about this year, but um what your thoughts on Super Draft? Do you think Don Garber made a comment? I'm sure you saw it where he was kind of antiquated and like they need to relook at it. What are your thoughts on this? Because for me, I think they do need to readjust that because I mean, there's opportunities in USL for some of these guys and there's opportunities around, but I think players should be allowed to kind of choose where they go if they can go somewhere, you know?
to be honest, I think there should probably be like a threshold of like how many picks, like maybe just like one round. Like you pick
Yeah.
those guys, then the rest free agents, like you can pick wherever, like normal guys will be, and like
Hmm.
they can get like maybe USL gets in, like maybe you have like a split draft, and then maybe like they can just go straight to you too, like any of them like MLS Next Pro clubs, like and they get a contract through there. Like it'd be interesting to see something like that, but the super draft has been like the super draft for how many years? It's the same old, where you're passing at like 20.
Yeah.
It's kind of stupid in my opinion.
I mean, that's my whole point too. Like you get in the second round and there's going to be people just like, yeah, we're going to pass with the second pick. Yeah, we're going to pass the third pick. I mean, we saw it last night. I don't know if you watched the expansion draft. I mean, it was
That
like,
was so underwhelming.
what was that? And I get it, but you see some of the players and I get their like roster and salary cap implications with some of those players, but it's like, what?
Yeah,
You like
nobody's.
something. Yeah, yeah, right. Like
Out
I
of all
want
the
to know.
names you could pick
I,
in those, it's an interesting strategy, but it's
Hmm.
all
I,
tactical at the end of the day.
I get where they were going with some of them, but yeah, that it was interesting. But go ahead.
Yeah, so we kind of mentioned Ernst. He's talked about development so much this offseason. Do you feel he's betting on the union pathway, even though maybe the league is evolving faster than maybe he thinks it is? And is the pathway just kind of PR talk at this point, in your opinion?
Ernst will die with the pathway. That is his bread and butter. That is his blood, sweat, and tears, as we've seen it just with giving up the draft picks.
Hmm.
And yes, the Union have a lot of prospect, as we've named plenty over these last 30 minutes.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I love that we're going to give all these guys a chances, the Westfields, the Andersons, the all the other guys. But yeah, I mean, I, at the end of the day, we need to give these kids the chance because we're not spending the money.
Hmm.
And yeah, over a 34 game season, though, you're not gonna, these kids aren't gonna last pretty much for all these games. So it's gonna be interesting how he brings up these kids. And if we're even gonna give them like we were talking about earlier, you can't rush them in.
Hmm.
So it's just gonna be interesting how this next coach brings these kids up and just well, I guess we'll see during training camp.
No, do you think if you're in Ernst's shoes, I mean, from a development side, I would say, would you still kind of have them go between Union 1 and Union 2, kind of like they were doing with Jim? Like, but let's say they're playing like 10, 15 minutes a night, stuff like that, where they're getting subbed on in particular roles. Do you
Yeah,
think that developmental role still needs to be there in terms of okay, you just played 15 minutes, now you're gonna go play 60 the next night or something like that.
I
You see my
mean, we've seen that with like a Chris Donovan or a Marcus Anderson, and I think it's honestly helped them with their confidence.
right,
Like we've definitely seen that. Like with Kevin, like he'll make the 5 minute debut and then play 70 minutes and play well. Like I don't see anything wrong with that.
right.
Hmm.
But the only thing you just got to look out for is their health. That's the only thing. They're young. I mean, they can run for days, but that's when you truly got to just watch how many miles they're running everything. Which we have a great staff that helps with that. But yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting with that. But yeah.
No, I agree with you. I I still think there are, he kept talking about blocking the developmental pathway. There are positions on this team, as you know, that you can still go out and make an upgrade off the bench and not block a pathway. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah, like we seen with
You could go get a 10 right now to get Gazak so he's not playing 90 minutes every freaking night and like gas by like the 70th minute. And then, that's another conversation for another day. But like get him off the field earlier, or if he is feeling good that night, move him up to striker and bring somebody else off. Like, and you can still give Kevin minutes. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, that is the biggest thing that we need to talk about this offseason is giving these kids the minutes, giving these vets a break.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That was my one of my biggest things, like 1A and 1B with Jim is these veteran guys needed a break.
they
And
did.
we would, but Jim would make like 6, 7 changes to a roster, and then sometimes we would play fine, sometimes we wouldn't. Give one guy, two guys a break. That's it. Like we did see it a couple times this year where he gave a lot of guys a break, and it cost the Union.
Right.
Yeah,
But I also felt like by the time we had that great game against NYCFC in New York, and then we
Hmm.
kind of had that game where Guzman played, Guzan played the game of his life, and the Union should have won that. But I mean, he made some good saves, and the Union kind of didn't capitalize. But we saw it going down that stretch that they were just gassed. By the time you got to Cincinnati off that 2 week break, there was a little bit left in the tank, but I don't know if they even make the playoffs. Like Jim was saying, well, you make playoffs. I don't know if even Jim thought that they had enough in the tank. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. It's that just how their momentum was going down the stretch and just their morale. You could tell they just had no gas and no energy and want to pursue that game.
No, it was like
It was just kind of time to stick a fork in it.
no, like the Columbus game was a perfect example. They
Yeah.
come out and we're like, all right, here we go, and then it was
Yep.
just like, up here it comes again, and then it just
Yep.
came and it came, and we're like, well, that's it.
Yep.
So, go ahead.
Yeah. So, now let's talk about what were your thoughts on being at your first Union 2 game this year?
So I mean, we got to see a great game. Was it 4-0?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
Yeah,
was a great game.
uh, yeah, that atmosphere there was amazing. I forget what Nico told us the total was. I think it was where around 4,000. I think he said it was.
Yeah,
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 something like that.
and it broke the Bethlehem Steel record,
Yeah.
which is
yes,
great to see. But yeah, I mean, imagine if we can get that at half the Union games. How much of a great atmosphere the Bridge Brigade has
Hmm.
brung this past year.
oh my
It was
gosh,
amazing to see by them guys. Like I applaud them a lot for bringing the kind of atmosphere that those kids need. It
Yeah.
brings them so much more. It just makes them want to play more and play for the actual badge even more by just having fans there that want to see them succeed. But yeah, I loved being there and just being able to see them lift a trophy was pretty neat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the players definitely fed off that, and that was so much fun. That was like one of the highlights of the season. I mean, for all the ups and downs the first team was having, Union 2 were just refreshing, to be honest. And just it was fun to attend those. And yeah, the Bridge Brigade was great, and I really hope the crowds continue for you two. I think that's wonderful. And I think a lot of people saw like when they went, they're like, oh, this is fun. And tickets are really cheap. And, this is a good experience. So I hope that continues. I hope they build off that. And they need to sell the kits.
Yeah.
I will die on that hill. They need to sell the kits.
No, I felt bad towards the end of the season. I kept asking Marlon. We kept asking Marlon about the Bridge Brigade.
Well, we each asked, and then it was like asked by others. And it's just
And
like,
then and
okay.
then then we get the MLS Next Cup and all my questions got answered by him. I'm like, okay, I got this question about your thoughts on the Bridge Brigade, and I'm like listening to it. I'm like, oh yeah, that. But no, it was one of those questions. We're talking about like it's just like sometimes you ask a question like, okay, that question's run its course. But no, that was the coolest part about the year. Like Marlon being so graceful
Marlon was awesome, by the
and
way.
just giving
Yeah.
like Marlon giving like the and I say this about him, he gives you answers
Mhm.
that it, to your question that you didn't even ask in the initial
Like,
question.
just props to Marlon. Marlon, so fantastic with them. I really hope he's back. I don't know. We still don't know what's going on with
But
him, but Marlon's great. I can't sing his praises enough.
so yeah, and again with the Bridge Brigade, like for Kyle and all those guys, like just to start that grassroots again, it's just great to see. It's kind of like the old school Sons of Ben, and you
Yeah.
kind of like to see that. And so moving on, I gotta ask you this: your ref, what is your craziest referee moment?
So I had plenty when I was younger, but I can go off of one that happened this past spring season, and then I actually had to go right to a uni game after, so it was pretty interesting. The free kicks taken, goes into the box to the keeper. Keeper grabs it, and then he goes down to the ground, like we would see Andre Blake go.
Mhm.
Kid came up and kicks him, tries to kick the ball, kicks the kid in the face. And then, of course, his teammates are going to come. They start swinging. There's a 4 or 5 person brawl. So I have to get in between. I actually got pushed by one of the.
Mm.
And these kids, this is a U19 league. So these kids are just as tall as I am. I'm not the biggest guy. I'm 5'11". But, and then he puts his hands on me. I back away. I had to give out 4 red cards for all the kids that came in. We had to cancel the game. We had to cancel the rest of the day. There was another game after. We had to cancel that because yeah, it was pretty interesting. But yeah, that's the craziest story I've had out of the past.
Now you've told me some stories about some of the coaches that have gotten on you too. Is there any that stick out to you as well?
Uh, I've had coach call me plenty of names that I've had to kick out, but it's just the parents that think they know the game
Mhm.
when their kid they've watched their kid from U6 up and just think they know the game. Then when they get to the big field and they see like guys like me that have been refing for a long time, not like the 1 2 year refs that are kids just as well that I've trained in the past year or
Yeah.
two.
Mhm.
They go up to the big field. You call it a little bit different than you would
Huh.
a small field and the younger ref. And they just like, oh, we've never gotten this called before. I'm just like, because it's a more physical game up here on the big field, and they just don't like my answer to them, and then they start freaking out. So I just have to kick them off. It
Yep.
happens almost every single game, and I make my record straight early on, so they don't complain ever again. I've had
Yeah.
plenty of people try to complain about me, but that's a soccer referee for you.
Do you get like rated like some of the pro guys do, where they get ratings?
I wish that'd be cool. I'd probably get like 50-50 probably.
Wait,
I have people that come up to me, coaches or parents, be like, "Skyler, we love you. We hate that you're not there." Because when I leave for uni game, sometimes there's a 4 or 5
yeah,
o'clock game, and I have to get on the road to go down to
yeah.
Super Park. I'm an hour away, and they're just like, "Skyler, why'd you leave? We wanted you here. Blah blah blah. Didn't call this that you would." And I'm just like, "Sorry, I can't be at every single game." But
You,
yeah,
you should,
that's when I loved it here.
yeah.
Yeah.
You should get like a QR code. Like, how was my performance today?
I'm good on the back of my ref jersey. Hey,
Yeah,
scan me to give you a rating.
Yes,
yeah.
there you go.
And you have like on the back.
Satisfactory.
Yeah, satisfactory. Were you satisfied with my performance? Go ahead.
Yeah, so now do Do you have a pregame routine? Even with being in the press box?
Uh, to be honest, on my way to the stadium, I listened to your guys' podcast, and
Oh, thank
we'll
you.
give a shout out to Todd. I listen
Hmm.
to the free kick. Honestly, I do. If I don't get it during the week, I listen to you guys, or if I want listen to like 15, 20 minutes of it on my way to work, I'll listen to the rest of it down
Hmm.
the stadium. Just gets me in the mood. And sometimes you guys give some little facts that I'm like, where'd you find this? Like, especially Todd sometimes, like
Hmm.
he'll give some crazy little stats that he'll dig up, and I'll be like, and I'll bring it up to him when I see him in the press box. I'm like, Todd, where'd you find this? And then he'll show it to me. I'm like, so yeah, just getting in the mood, listening to you guys. That's pretty much my pregame routine.
Yeah, I mean, that's me and Todd like talking back and forth about stats and being
Oh, yeah.
like, I mean, Jillian wouldn't know this as much, although you would. You've been there when we've been there. Be like,
You
Kyle,
two have
look,
been talking
you,
stats, and
no,
I'm
no.
like, stats.
Remember that one game? I forget what game it was. It was like everybody was like, Kyle, look up this stat. Kyle, look up this stat. We were having fun. We were
Oh,
just
there
like,
was times you and Todd were like talking stats, and we're like,
Anytime I
I
need a
forget
stat in
where
the
we
press
were. We were like, I think at the bar or something. We were like, listen, you and Todd, we
oh,
were like in
we were
Lancaster,
we were at like just hanging out like
hanging
on
out in
Friday
Lancaster,
night and like
and they're
him and
like,
I are just
little
like on our
stats,
phones,
stats, and
just
I'm
like
just
look.
like,
It was like it was him and I a couple of weeks ago. We just went on this deep dive on like Mikel Uwa's 50% shots on target percentage, and then we're looking up other top strikers in the
nerd.
league, and like
comparing it.
and it was just and then we were looking at like top strikers in the league. Oh, they're only at 47%. What? Like it was interesting, just like
Interesting
seeing
the
the
stuff you can dig deep into,
it really is. You can go down
comparing,
that.
contrasting.
You
Nerds. It's okay. I'm a self-proclaimed nerd, but just not with stats. And
so
yeah,
final question, man. What needs to happen next few months, in your opinion, for the fans? We see it on social media. They're frustrated. People are, as they say, the mob is at the gates, so to speak. What do the union, the front office, ownership need to do to turn this thing around, or at least start trying to turn this thing around?
We need to go out and actually sign somebody that's going to compete for a starting spot and actually play in the first half of the season, not just sit on the bench like we've seen in the past with like a Ty Baribo,
Hmm.
where we put him in. Yes, we knew he was going to be a Carranza replacement, but that didn't happen until a year later. But yeah, we just need somebody to get these fans excited about the season because right now there's really nothing to be excited about. It's the same meh feeling. But if we get one good midfield player or a striker to get this fan base back excited and actually wanting to come to the stadium, then I feel like it will get guys excited again. But yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see. Maybe it could be the head coach signing. Maybe we could see any of the other guys that we've seen get fired or leave their position this offseason. Maybe
hmm.
that could intrigue some fans. But yeah, we need something and something soon.
Yes. No, I agree for
I mean,
sure.
we did. There are sources out there linking them to a center back.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, there's been a lot in like the last 2 days, I'd say. Ian Glavinovich. So,
Okay.
he's in
He plays for Newell Old
New
Boys.
Old Boys, yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Messi and Joaquin Torres.
23-year-old. Yeah, he's Argentinian. But apparently, like, and when I found out it's like he's Argentinian, I'm like, man, that name sure doesn't look Argentinian,
But
but
he's
I guess
not.
he's like Croatian, I think I
Yeah.
heard, um,
You
from
know,
Jose. So like,
tw
yeah,
23-year-old now, you look at his transfer market. I know everybody has different opinions about it. I mean, it's $2.5 million at 23 for a loan with an option to buy. Now, I know he's been injured a lot. That's a concern, but
loan
hey,
and yeah, like a loan and option to buy. I think I mean, that could be a good piece of business here. I mean, you know,
we'll see.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind us getting younger at that, but
I don't know how you feel, Skyler, but like you said earlier, like we kind of need to freshen up that center back role.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've had success I would say with some loany players,
Right.
For
with
sure.
Montero, uh, wasn't
Carranza.
Well, Carranza's a
yeah,
big one. Yeah.
Franz is a big one.
Yeah.
Wasn't Dogecal a loany at first? What's Dogecal?
I
I
think
don't
he
even remember.
was.
Yeah, I think he was too.
Joe's like, who? Yeah,
Yeah,
like I went and did
Dogecal.
deep
Yeah,
dive.
yeah. I'm
I
just
went and
thinking
deep.
of like guys that were loanees. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't hurt if you're spending a couple $1,000s. It's not going to hurt in a spot that you need right now, especially if
Yeah.
you're.
And if he works out, you got quality. You got a good
Hmm.
23-year-old guy's got miles on his legs, that you
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
potentially.
health is the biggest thing. Hope.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's a typical low risk, high reward. So
Yeah.
for a team that doesn't spend, now they
Yeah.
still
No,
need
like
to go out and spend,
for
but
sure. But
yeah,
yeah, I would like this move, I mean, I'm cool with this. Of course, we're gonna see where that leaves our, the current center backs. And of course there's the rumors about Jack Elliott out
yeah,
there, what Tom Bogert put out there and everything. Um, so we'll see what happens with everything here. I'm sure there'll be lots going on in the coming days and weeks. So
yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, Sky, we appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks
this
for
is
coming
great as
on.
always.
And where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at skyhoff_3, and I'm always live tweeting on Union Nation.
All right. So that's all for this episode of the One Team We Agree on.
Yeah, make sure to subscribe, leave us comments. We love hearing from you. Be sure to follow us on our various social media and interact with us. We appreciate it. And you can find us again on all your major podcasting platforms. So definitely check us out. Check out our website. But yeah, we appreciate all the interaction for sure. And if you have any ideas for us or anything, please contribute.
And until next time, I'm Kyle,
I'm Jillian.
and we'll see you at the game.